Welcome to our holistic health and wellness week-long series, where each day we take a look at a fascinating new piece of holistic healing technology. At the heart of this initiative is a shared commitment among all of the companies featured that they hold firmly to their values of being in service to others. And I align with this value as well by sharing this information with you. Our goal is to provide you with valuable insights into alternative forms of healing that may complement your wellness journey. Each video this week will feature a different device, and all of the related information will be listed in the show notes for your reference. We genuinely hope that you find this information helpful and informative, and we encourage you to leave a comment if any of these technologies resonate with you. We love hearing your feedback. Lastly, please remember that while these devices can offer supportive benefits, they are not a substitute for professional medical advice. So please use your own discernment to decide what resonates best with you. And if you find value in this content, please like this video and share it with anyone who you feel may benefit from learning more about these healing and wellness technologies that we discuss. We hope you enjoy this journey towards healing and holistic wellness. And as always, thank you for watching. Our guest today is Dr. Jeff Wolfman. He's here to talk with us about the CloudMat by CENTROPIX, which is an electromagnetic frequency device. So welcome, Dr. Jeff. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I had already heard about this device, but I actually got to give it a try when we met you at a conference recently. And up until now, alternative wellness has always included things like essential oils, acupuncture, and homeopathic remedies. But holistic care is now including science-based technology, which I think is really great. And it incorporates physics and electromagnetic frequency. So that's what we're going to be talking with you today about. But first, I would love to learn more about you and how you got involved with using this technology and what drew you to using it in the first place.
So I've been a physician for about 30 years. Always been a little different than the mainstream and kind of went off the beaten track early on into what used to be called holistic medicine, and then it was complementary and alternative and integrative, and now it's more functional medicine. But always very, very interested in pursuing like the root cause of stuff. I'm a family physician, and shortly after training, I got out and I was like, I don't have a whole lot to offer a lot of people, particularly, it was just the beginning of these unusual, sort of the wave of these unusual chronic complex conditions that we're taking on different names, fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome and chronic Epstein-Barr and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that wave has just continued to escalate, leading us in medicine kind of scratching our heads a lot because we weren't trained in it at all then. And so it's been really a journey of discovery of trying to figure out what's going on, what's underneath a lot of these chronic issues. So I got very well versed in, you mentioned some of the other alternative therapies, the herbs and the nutrients and diet and the detox of this and the oils and the different things, which are all great. And I've explored a lot of those. But I think all of us in this field of working with these complex things have seen over time that it's actually gotten harder to help people really change. What used to work great like 20 years ago or even 10 years ago doesn't work as well anymore. And I think it's just because the number of different challenges that we're all exposed to has just continued to escalate. So I was starting to get frustrated with even the best herbal protocols and nutritional and detox and all. There's still people who just would get 50% better and just, wouldn't go any further. And things that used to work great were really sluggish now. And so I'm like, there has to be, I hope there's more. Like, I hope there's more. Like, what else is there? And I used to speak at a lot of the conferences and saw a lot of different technologies and different devices. And I was curious, and I was aware of actually the older PEMF devices. And I'm like, that's got potential, but I don't think it's sophisticated enough for me yet. And so it's really necessity that took me here, both for my clients and myself. I don't have any major issues, but I've struggled with some low-grade fatigue and kind of vulnerability around sleep and diet and stuff that I didn't, no matter how much mitochondrial support and red lights and cold plunges and intermittent fasting and nutrient supports, I could not get above a certain ceiling in my energy. And so I was puzzled by that in myself, like there's got to be more. So a little over 2 years ago, someone reached out to me, a friend of mine, and said, hey, there's some new technology out of Germany. I think you would like to know about. So, yeah, what category is it? We talk about, oh, it's in the PMF category, but it's a new development. Well, it's got to be something totally different than what's out there. Like for me, because I'm pretty aware of what's in. And then through some research and then personal experience, I realized actually this is something that's different, and it is truly a next evolution in that therapy. So, it really, what drives me and drove me eventually to this was sitting with people who are struggling to feel better and get better, and I was kind of running out of tools, and so that's what led me to this. And then my personal experience with clients has been really good. That actually, she talked about, like, we have to continue to evolve sort of the range of what we're working with, and we need to, in my opinion, now we need to include the electromagnetic influences on our body and our life, because we are bioelectromagnetic beings, and that part's kind of been ignored, and we've just been working on biochemistry, structure, little energy work here, but we haven't really been addressing the bioelectromagnetic part, which is what this does. So that in a nutshell is kind of how I ended up getting involved in this. And then once I saw its effects, I became a bit like, people need to know about this. Practitioners, clients, the general public, because this is an important tool.
So I wanted to ask you, and I can probably speak to this a little bit myself, and Tracy could as well, because we actually tried the mat when we met you. And just for anyone listening, because a lot of people, the first thing they ask is, what does it feel like? Do you feel anything? Right. And from my experience, I'll speak for myself, is that you don't feel anything, first of all. At least I didn't. And I'm going to let you answer that too, Dr. Jeff, because I know you've had a lot of experiences with other people. But what did happen for me is that I had sort of like an epiphany, which is a download of information that came in while I was on the mat to do exactly this, to be able to provide a week-long series of holistic wellness healing tools that people could benefit from that are not part of the traditional medical establishment. And that was just a thought that popped into my head as soon as within like a minute of laying on the mat, I was like, oh, we should be talking about this, and we should do a whole series on this. And then I know Tracy had her own experience, and I'll let her talk about that herself. But that was my experience. So I thought that was really neat. Tracy, did you want to share about kind of what happened with you when you were using the mat?
Yes, I would love to. When I was on the mat, I have anxiety. I'm full of energy. Just too much going on at once in my body. And when I sat on it, it was funny because we had literally the complete opposite effect. And I think you mentioned it earlier, that the body knows what it needs to work on, especially if it's, pain or even anxiety. And my calmness, I felt calm. And I thought I felt little tinglies. And I think I said that to you there. I was like, "God, I feel like a little tingly and a little euphoric." And I don't know if it's obviously something I needed. And and then on the other hand, I have her in my ear, and that's usually me with the word salads and all the energy, and she was just like Einstein with her like this and this and this and the square root of and meanwhile I was like this. So it was very interesting how we both had a different experience.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great testimony of like how it affects different people in different ways. And so that's the other effect that I want to mention. So I was kind of mainly focusing on this molecular activation, so which is a key part of it. But the other aspect of it is entrainment. So your nervous system will tend to like mirror or entrain with what it's exposed to. So if you're in a total chaotic environment with all kinds of noise and stuff, your nervous system will be like, if you're in a very peaceful, calm, your nervous system will tend to entrain. So when you're laying in that field, not only is there the activation of the molecules, super critical, but also your nervous system will entrain to the signal. And so most of us run on what I call sympathetic overdrive. Your nervous system, you got this fight or flight or this rest and digest part, the sympathetic, parasympathetic. Most of us are buzzing too much in the sympathetic drive. So when you lay on it, particularly, so there's 5 different programs and each of them has a little different effect. I'm pretty sure I had both of you do Synchronize, which was program 4. And that's very grounding and bringing that nervous system into like balance. And so I've seen this a bunch of times where I've had people just start crying too from being on that, because they run like this all the time and their nervous system actually balanced, and they got a feel for that. And they're like, oh my God, I've been wanting to just feel like this for, or, for you, Tara, it could be like your mind got kind of relaxed and clear, and this inspiration had space to come in,
Right.
And Tracy, your system probably is like, oh yeah, how relaxing. I can, like, your nervous system went, oh God, thank goodness,
Yeah.
So there's that effect too, which is really important in the healing process, because to be in rest and digest is in, the healing state, right? So it can help bring people into that. So the 5 different programs are relax, balance, energize, synchronize, and transform. And so you can choose different ones for different purposes, and it affects everybody differently. And I've seen that too. There's the acute effects, like what you experienced. Mostly what you experienced was your nervous system's getting calm. The right afterwards or during. That's in my opinion. Then there is the progressive cascade effects with regular use. That's the regeneration and the restoration and that continues. So there's both the acute effects and the ongoing effects that people feel. And you're right. Some people feel a little, because it is low intensity, right? Some people feel a little buzzy, little tingly. People who are super sensitive will, feel it more. Other people don't feel a thing, but stuff is happening. You just can't. It's just beyond your perception ability.
And something I looked at when I was doing a little research on this is that I understand NASA actually uses this type of therapy with their astronauts when they return from space. So I thought that was really, interesting to find out, which actually lends a lot of credibility, I think, to this type of technology.
Well, there are natural frequencies that occur. If we didn't have any Wi-Fi, satellites, 5G, cell phones, wires in our whatever, there are natural Earth occurring electromagnetic frequencies that are just the nature of the Earth, the lightning strikes, the whatever that bounce around. So our systems are designed to be exposed to natural frequencies within a certain range. And when they go into space, they're not having that exposure, and they found that actually is not good for you. It's not good. You actually need electromagnetic, within that life supporting range. You need electromagnetic field to maintain vitality and health. So that's one of those pieces of that.
How does one typically use the Kloud device in their daily routines? And what's the recommended usage for the optimal results?
So that's the other thing I like about it, is it's fast and simple. So therefore, the likelihood of using it is significantly increased. So a session, all the sessions are 15 minutes. When you hit the start button, it runs for 15 minutes, then shuts off after 15 minutes. And optimal use is 2 sessions a day. So 15 minutes twice a day. One in the morning and one later in the day, because the effects go like this and then trail off. So you're doing this one and then you're doing this one. You're kind of maintaining that. But you can do more, and a lot of people do more. So like people with really severe fatigue often will do 2 back-to-back plus another one later in the day, or they'll do their 2 and then they're having trouble falling asleep or kind of wound up at night, and they'll do like the relaxer program at night as an additional one, a la carte. I kind of use that as an a la carte, the relax and energize, depending on what's going on. I do make sure I do the transform every day. That's the one that was in that cell study. it's the deepest penetration, most activating. I want that to be going on. So yeah, so it's twice a day. I find like if we travel and so forth, and I get kind of lazy and stop using it, my fatigue just starts creeping back. And then I get back on it, and then it goes back down. And I sleep like 1 to 2 hours less than I used to, because I used to need tons of sleep, and I still was kind of tired. Now it's like, oh, it's 4 a.m. Really? I'm getting up now? It's crazy. Okay, I'm going to go with it. And then I do fine. So
it seems to me that it could be a double whammy. You're doing this amazing therapy with the Kloud, and then also meditating. You
exactly.
know, I mean,
yes.
that would be, you'd be a Buddha before you knew it.
My wife, she does that. She does the balance one, which is the most sort of like acupuncture, meditative, and she meditates while she's on it. And she's like, I go places in 15 minutes I never went, sitting, trying to meditate for 30, 40 an hour.
If she starts levitating, you better let us know.
Sometimes I look over there, I'm like, what is going on over there? Like,
there's like a glow around her.
She is gone. She's like, yeah, I was just astral traveling. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. Because the nervous system there's not so much static. And so you can actually, drop into deeper space without trying to work your way through the layers of mind chatter and the body being buzzy or whatever. Like the nervous system goes, and then you can actually get into. So like I have one of my business partners, she is a business coach, and she has her clients do Kloud session before they come in the room with her. And she's like, our sessions go so much further because we don't spend the first 20 minutes trying to get them to calm down from running in off the street and their mind's still going with work. They're like calm, receptive, open. People who do body work, acupuncture, Reiki, that kind of thing, they have them do Kloud before. And then their system is settled. It's receptive. They're not having to fight through all the tension. So it really, and that's the thing, using it before other things I find is the best combo. Like, well, if I'm going to use this, what do I do, before or after? Before for sure. After would be great too, but that works better so that the system is like charged and relaxed.
Tell us about the bubble.
So this is the bubble 2. You can see there's 2 Tesla coils in it. This is actually a battery powered. It's the world's smallest mini PEMF device, and so there's a totally different purpose than the Kloud. So yes, they both put out a pulsed field, but the Kloud is like covering the whole body, charging all the molecules, bringing the nervous system into coherence. This emits the Schumann resonance. Now, the Schumann resonance is the Earth's natural electromagnetic pulsation. It's about 7.8 hertz or cycles per second. So if there weren't any crazy chaotic electromagnetic signals or electrosmog, our body would just be exposed to that heartbeat of the Earth. So what this does is it brings the heartbeat of the Earth, that's 7.83, right to your solar plexus. So it hangs down right like your big nervous center. So that what your body is feeling primarily is mama's heartbeat, the Earth's heartbeat. And so how I feel that helps me is my nervous system, it just relaxes a bit when I'm wearing this. Like if I'm out, in nature, I don't, but if I'm in a busy place or I'm working at my computer all day and I got bzzz, if you could see the electrosmog, it'd be foggy in here. Just can't see it. Like the Wi-Fi and my computer and my phone are all putting out stuff, right? So that is stressful to your nervous system. But this is right up against my solar plexus, giving me that nice, easy mama's heartbeat. And what I find is I'm not as I don't get as fatigued as easily, like mentally, cognitively. Towards the end of the day, I'm like still ready to go. Before I'd be like, God, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. So it helps a lot with that. And then there's modifiable parts to it. You can get a frequency wheel where you can actually just choose, choose which frequency you want. So you can go from 0 to 1,000. So there are different like chakra based frequencies, like the throat chakra, the heart chakra, et cetera, resonate at different levels. So you can actually choose which one you want.
Wow.
It has a cradle that it sits on. So when you lay it on the cradle, then I can go on the app on my phone and I can dial what do I want. Do I just want to do the Schumann, or do I want to do like third eye, really high
Mhm.
frequency for the day, or really a low one? And so you can change it, which is kind of cool.
And do you have to charge it?
Yep, it charges by sitting on this.
Okay.
The charge
Oh,
lasts
okay.
for about 3 days or so, and then when you lay it on here, it's wireless charging and charges it up. And it has to be on here to change the frequency. So you just jump on your phone, and the Kloud also, it's wireless, battery powered. It'll do like 18 sessions on a charge. So super convenient that way too. When I started looking at all this root cause stuff, and I started researching all the challenges that our body has, all the toxins, and then all the chronic infections, the Lyme and Epstein-Barr, and then the mold and the this and that, and the heavy metals, and leaky guts, and all this stuff. I didn't get depressed, but I was like, oh my God, it's amazing we're still walking around. And then you look at the food supply, how the nutrients have all been sucked out of it, and we're living on this kind of bizarre stuff. And so I realized, and then I'm working with a lot of people with chronic issues, chronic complex illness, and I'm like, I don't want to go down that path myself. Like none of us do, right? We want to be vital and
Mhm.
strong to live our lives and our dreams. I'm like, why? If that's the case, I got to be resilient, because you can't avoid everything. You just can't. You do your
Right.
best, right? Can't avoid everything. So I want to be able to handle stuff. And if I want to handle stuff, I got to have the energy to do it. So
Mhm.
that's kind of, in a nutshell for me.
Yeah, I think prevention is the name of the game these days in healthcare. At this point in life, we have so much technology available to us that will prevent us from going too far down that road with illness, hopefully, if we take advantage of it. And that's why I think something like this is so important. And we did talk a little bit earlier about risk, and you said there's absolutely no risk. I think it's worth mentioning again. And I just, for the sake of the audience, wanted to ask, is there any contraindications, number one, of, for anybody, I know that oftentimes you hear, oh, it's great for everybody except for people who are pregnant.
Yeah,
So just
yeah.
putting that out there. And then just quickly as a follow-up on that, how about pets? Because that's what we all want to take care of our pets too. And is this okay for pets to use?
Okay, great questions. So the company, so I mean, everything probably has some potential, but the two things are pacemakers and pregnancy. It's not recommended for either of those two, primarily as a general precaution. Now, even people with a pacemaker, there are pacemakers that, are qualified as long as the energy that it's exposed to is less than X. So that's something that someone would need to ask their doctor, look at the output of the Kloud and their device. But those are the two. And then pregnancy, of course, it's unknown and therefore not recommended by the company. So that's the only two like suggestions there. And of course, there's no medical claims, as I said before. How it affects everybody's different, all that stuff. Pets, animals love this. Of course, they are more sensitive to subtle energy than we humans are in general. Our dog, as soon as he hears the beep of it starting, he picks up, he comes over and puts his feet up on the bed, or if it's on the floor, he comes over and he lays down and tries to shove himself onto the mat. He loves it, and I've seen that over and over again. Dogs, cats, etc. They feel it, and he knows the second it goes off, he's like, oh, off he goes. Like even before it beeps that it's off, he knows it's turned off. So animals love it, and there's also an equine blanket where you can take the same mat, put it in this sleeve, and put it over horses. And horses, they are very sensitive to subtle energy. And you hit the start button and they just go. Their head drops, their ears and their lips are hanging loose. They love it. So yeah, It's really, really awesome for animals. We had some friends, their dog had a large growth and was really struggling, and we're like, take our mini. So there's a maxi Kloud and a mini, and fold it up so it's maximum intensity. So when you fold up the Kloud, it actually doubles the intensity. Lay it right over that and just do it like multiple times a day. And it worked out. It worked out well for that.
I love hearing that. I love that, like, this is okay for pets to use, because that's, our loves of our life are our pets. And I have a friend who has horses, and I was talking with him about this, and he said, oh, people who have horses would do anything for their horses. I mean, not to say we wouldn't do anything for our other pets too, but horses are obviously a very expensive animal to maintain.
Yeah.
So they would go far out of their way to take care of their horse.
Mhm.
And I know you just mentioned there's a special kit that is made specifically for equine. Do you have a story you could share with us about how a horse has benefited from using this equipment?
Yeah. So if you go to the website that you're going to put in the show notes, that's in the show notes below this, there's a video of a story of a horse in Amish country who was really, really in bad shape, and this was early on, and when with the Kloud first kind of came to the U.S. and just put it on and just kept using it, and it's really, really transformed that. I actually, we had someone demo ours, and the trainer didn't know. We just gave one session one day, and then the next day the trainer, did their thing, and he's like, "This horse is different today." Like, they can feel these things, like the riders, like he's just moving, he's moving different, Did you guys do anything different? Like, well, gave him a Kloud session, and the owner's like, "Is that possible? Is that possible?" Like, yeah, it's possible. It is possible. I've seen it before. Just open up blood flow, reduce inflammation levels, and therefore, things can change for the better. So, yeah, so there's a lot of stories like that, but the one on the website is very, very compelling. And I've got some slides that I think will help bring this into further light. So within the slides, I'm going to answer that question of like why it is different and how and what this evolution is about. So I titled it PEMF, quote in quotations on purpose, has finally evolved, because I've been waiting for it to evolve, because it's been stagnant for about 25 years, the research, but now it's taken a leap. So you can go to the next slide. So Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. And then next slide. Einstein said a long time ago, future medicine will be the medicine of frequencies, because of this. Like, we have to include the frequencies. So what is PEMF? And I put that in quotation marks because, but basically it's passing a pulsed electromagnetic field through the body to elicit and support beneficial biochemical and physiologic processes. But you gotta, this is one thing people have to understand. Quote, PEMF is a general term, like herbs or supplements or medications. It can mean a whole range of things. So sometimes people lump, oh, I tried PEMF, or so-and-so has a PEMF. That's like saying, I tried a supplement once, or so-and-so has an herb that didn't work. Well, it depends. There's so many variables. So you have to think about that. It's been used for over 50 years. It's totally mainstream in Russia, Poland, Czech Republic, rapid increase around the world. There are thousands of publications over decades. And we have to realize, all electromagnetic fields are not healthy. Obviously, 5G and these kinds of things are not necessarily life supportive, but there are electromagnetic fields within the body spectrum that actually are supportive. I want to just make a differentiation of what we're talking about today, because there are like super high intensity PEMF devices that are like a very strong, powerful pulse, single frequency pounding. This is what we're talking about here is low intensity PEMF in the low frequency range. So the device I'm going to tell you about, the Kloud, only operates within the range what the body normally experiences. Now, there are other devices that are way outside that range that are more like interventional, trying to make a certain thing happen. But this is low intensity, low frequency within the normal body range. But the thing is, some people say, well, you got to have high intensity for it to do something. That's actually not the case, because at the bottom there, it says when you have high complexity, you don't need high intensity. And so this is a different approach, ultra safe and broadly effective. So does PEMF equal PEMF? No, it does not. There are multiple variables. So there are several variables. One is the intensity, which I talked about. That's like how strong the signal is. There's the specific frequencies that are used. Some are only in this narrow band, some are over here, some are over here, some just have this little slice. What's the spectrum of the signal? What's the form? It can be a square, it can be a sawtooth. What's the duration of the exposure? So when people go and look at studies, it can be a little confusing because the different studies use different combinations of all these things. But even with that super high variability in the studies, the impact that PEMF as a category has on biochemical, cellular, physiologic outcomes is pretty amazing. And there's no risk when used carefully, particularly the low intensity units. And there are multitudes of studies showing anti-inflammatory effects, like modulating the inflammation chemicals, helping stem cells to differentiate tissue repair, releasing nitric oxide and increasing blood flow, augmenting depression treatments, fracture healing, pain syndromes, help collagen cell differentiation, and so on and on. And when I initially was looking, I'm like, how is that possible? I don't quite get it, because I had this sort of, biochemistry mindset from my training, like you got to figure out the chemical reaction, put the thing in there to try and change chemistry. But this is acting on a different level. It's actually on the bottom there. It's acting on the level of molecular activation. Everything's made up of molecules, right? All the cells and tissues and mitochondria and this, that, and the other. So if you actually increase that activation of the molecules, that then leads to increasing charge at the cellular level, and you got to have a charge at the cells in order for them to move nutrients in and out, to replicate, to repair. And the thing is like I mentioned before, we have so many challenges to be healthy and vital now, more than ever. For a cell to like regenerate and replicate and detox and gobble up microbes requires multiple times more energy than a cell that's just chilling and hanging out. So we actually have increased energy requirements at the molecular level to stay vital and healthy. And that's where this comes in. So I mentioned this a little bit before, like, why did I wait until now to start using this? The prior technology, most of it has very basic signals, like a very basic sawtooth or square form. It only acts in a narrow part of this, so only here or here or here. It's not not a complex signal, it's unsophisticated, and also a lot of them you don't even know, like what are the specifics behind it? What is the spectrum? What's the size of what's the shape of the waveform? How broad is it? And so I wasn't satisfied with that. So this is the creator of the Kloud, Dr. Wolf Kafka. He's really one of the foremost. He's like the Edison of PEMF. He's been researching this he's a German biophysicist. I actually met him in Liechtenstein a couple months ago when I went over to the company headquarters and got to meet him and talk to him and talk about his creation. He's been in this arena for a very long time. He has a prior device that he created called the Beamer. I'm sure many of you have heard of, and that was brought out 25 years ago. And at that point, it was a definite step forward and helped bring PEMF to the West. That technology is basically the same as it was 25 years ago. He continued to evolve the technology and ultimately created the Kloud. What it says there in the middle, that it has 50 times greater molecular activation potential, that's a physics calculation. It's not just an opinion. So what is the Kloud? Really, it's the next generation. And it really is about the molecular activation. So they're actually calling it a whole new class, PEMA, which stands for pulsed electromagnetic activation, to try and really just bring this home. This is a new class. So the signal is patented, 50 times more activation power. It's wireless. You can drive it from an app, lightweight, portable. It's made in Switzerland, and it is an FDA Class 1 medical device, which is just a safety claim. It's been assessed for safety. The vast majority of devices that exist today are on the left-hand side there. Very narrow band, very simple signal. Yes, they do something, but it's not very broad in its effect. And then in 1998, in the middle there, that's actually the beamer signal that Dr. Kafka created. It was the first broadband. So it went from here to like here. So like 2 piano keys to, 8 piano keys. And that therefore had a broader effect. And the little dots on the body are basically, that's like how many molecules it activates. And then the Kloud signal that was developed in 2020 is the world's first ultra broadband. So it's like a 30-piece orchestra in terms of the range of frequencies that it covers. And not only that, but they're superimposed upon each other. So that leads to, because every molecule vibrates at a certain place. And if you're only activating the ones in here, you're only activating a small percent of molecules, versus if you have a signal that covers the whole huge range, you're activating that many more and that greater effect. This is a study that was done in Germany where they took human cells. These are connective tissue cells. Each one of those little circles is a cell. What they're supposed to do is close that space. That's what those cells are programmed to do, is to, like if you tore a muscle or something or tore your skin, let's close it. So the one on the top was a Petri dish that they did not give a Kloud session. The one on the bottom, they gave it one 15-minute Kloud session. And then they followed them over 48 hours to see, well, what difference does it make? The only change was that it got a Kloud session. No difference in the nutrients, the light, the temperature, all that. And you can see as you watch this video, the cells that got the molecular activation from the Kloud were able to close that space twice as fast, because the issue is energy, not nutrients. And that really impacted me. Like, okay, I'm magnifying that to the whole body. All the cells all the time are doing stuff, detoxing, regenerating, gobbling up microbes, eating cancer cells, et cetera, all the time. So I want all my cells able to do it twice as fast. So this was really a dramatic piece to me. People who plateaued, like stopped improving or stuck, they start healing again. Fewer relapses and increased resilience. People like, oh my gosh, I can't eat this and I can't go here and I can't smell that. I can't do that. I have to sleep at 1,000,000 hours. Or like that just actually gets less and they're more resilient. And the overall just increased quality of life. When you feel better, you are better. People's like all of a sudden like, oh yeah, I just started exercising. Oh, I decided to like go learn this new thing. Well, why? Well, I just feel better. They've been wanting to do this for years, right? But when you feel some basic vitality, rest of life kind of dominoes out from there. The other important piece for me, the CENTROPIX and the Kloud is the only PEMF-based company or product to ever do a large-scale outcomes trial, ever. All the others have chosen not to do that, and I think there are reasons why. And so this is 6 weeks. Basically, this is 440 people who bought a kloudmat, and they did a survey before it showed up at their house, and then 6 weeks later. This was unsupervised, which means it was up to them whether they used it, they didn't use it, whatever. Which to me is actually more powerful, because it's hard to reproduce, research where they're called every day and all this stuff. So one important piece is 85% of the people used it on a regular basis, because any device, if people aren't using it, it's not going to work. So that's important. They used it because it's convenient and they felt better. And then this is the percentages are at the beginning before use and then after 6 weeks. So you can see dramatic changes. The people who said, hey, I have a good amount of energy, only 25% said that at the beginning, went to 70%. Or those who said I have no fatigue, only a quarter, went to 60. I have no pain, almost doubled. Sleep issues dropped by half. I had trouble thinking, dropped by over half. I feel calm and peaceful. I feel mentally exhausted. All those things improved dramatically. And those who said, I have a lot of energy, increased by 186%. Now, it's dramatic. I was like, are you, what? Come on. But this is a real deal. It's an independent study done at, in Vienna. Now, the important thing I want to say is you cannot generalize this result to, quote, PMF, like I said at the beginning. Like, oh, thank goodness I have a PMF device. This is great. Well, that's like being on a super complex custom nutritional and herbal protocol, showing a good outcome, and then said, oh, thank goodness I've got vitamin C from Costco. I'm good. I'm taking supplements. I don't mean to overplay that, but I hear this all the time, even from professionals. Oh, great. I have a mat. Well, it's not the same. and these outcomes cannot be generalized. This is specific to the Kloud. There were 100 people in that group who said, I have severe fatigue at the beginning. This is like a subgroup. And you can see those who classified themselves as having severe fatigue, 100% to start with, that was the group. That dropped to only 15% of those people after 6 weeks classified themselves as having severe fatigue. And then about 2/3 of the way down, you can see it says, I have no desire to do anything. 90% of people said that at the beginning. And at the end, only 26% said that. And there's that feel better to be better, right?
Yeah.
Even emotional problems, 50% down to 9%.
That's what I was just going to mention, is that what I'm seeing here is really depression, right? Like the people who suffer from depression would benefit from something like this based on this information.
Yeah, and there's that overlap between, quote, depression and physical symptomatology. You know, it's
Right.
not like complete separation, right? And when there's inflammation and chronic pain and fatigue and sleep issues, and then mood is all in that, is that it diffusely helps these things. And I put at the bottom, I mean, if someone else does, please tell me, but I do not know of any other single input that can support this level of broad quality of life improvements with no risk. There's like zero risk of this modality. It's going to be published in the medical literature within the next few months. When I was first getting involved with this and learning about it, I was just, again, I was puzzled, and I wanted to speak to this. How can lying on a mat with a complex pulsed electromagnetic field for 15 minutes once or twice a day lead to this level of outcomes? It doesn't fit with my prior training of this sort of reductionist biochemical thing. How is that possible? Well, the body's natural state is vital, pain-free, clear, and energetic. The body knows what to do, and it's trying to do it all the time. But it has to have the energy to do it well. So you provide the energy through this bioelectromagnetic energy transfer. I mean, it's basically what you're doing. You're transferring energy from this signal into the body. Like I have this phone, super complex, has all kinds of capabilities, but it's got to have a charge to do it, right? And if I want to charge it, I lay it on a wireless charger. This pulsed field runs through the battery, raises the charge potential. Now I can take it, tell it what to do, stream videos, do all kinds of things, and it will do it. But if the battery's at 5%, I can give it all kinds of instructions. It's like, no, I can't stream that video. Maybe you can text, but that's it, right? So that's a good analogy, which like wireless charging.
I love that analogy. That's like perfect.
Yeah, it really like brings it home to me.
Yeah.
And because the body has the ability, has all this software, knows what to do, but it's got to have the charge. So you charge it. So this increases the probability of favorable, physiologic processes. And another thing I love is it doesn't force anything. This is not a forceful therapy. It's actually just, like you charge this phone, it doesn't force it to do a function. It gives it the potential to do a function, but you choose what you want it to do. So the body now has the capacity to self-heal. And then the dominoes go from there to quality of life. So I want to bring to your attention very soon, this month in December, the largest health documentary ever made is going to premiere on Amazon Prime on December 16th. It's called Biohack Yourself. And they vetted hundreds of people and hundreds of devices and put together what they felt were the premier biohack devices. And in episode number 1, the kloudmat, the Kloud PEMA mat is featured. And so encourage you to check that out as another piece where they're going to be looking at. And to me, it is a foundational piece for all biohacking to layer on top of, for the reasons that I mentioned in the talk here. So yeah, that'll be coming out on the 16th.
This has been so much great information, Dr. Jeff. We just thank you so much. And we are going to include a lot of links in the show notes, as you mentioned. So if anyone is interested in learning more about this equipment, you can click those links. It'll take you directly to a page where it will share more information with you about how to get in touch with somebody from the company who can talk with you in more detail about it and give you pricing. And I just think, as I mentioned earlier, prevention is the name of the game these days. And this type of equipment is so needed and so beneficial. And I'm definitely interested, so I'm going to be checking it out. So I just want to say thank you so, so much for sharing this information with us. We really appreciate you coming and talking with us. And, I think hopefully a lot of people can benefit from what you shared today. So just as we wrap up, is there any final comments you want to share with us?
Well, I like to wrap up things by saying, go Team Human.
I love
Go
that.
Team Human.
That's
like
perfect.
we're all on the same team. Like, go
Yep.
Team Human. And I'm committed and vital living with energy, vitality, and so we can reach our greatest potential is what I'm about. And I really appreciate what you all are doing to just do what you can to bring awareness. And people make their choices, right? They'll resonate with this or they won't. But let's put it out there so people can choose. And I love the synchronicity too of just like chance meetings. When we met in Denver, it was great to connect with you too. And like, hey, let's do this. Like, cool, let's do it. And so here we are.
I agree. The synchronicity was amazing on that. And we're so glad it worked out. And we just want to say thank you so much for making the world a better place with this information. So we appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right. Take care, everyone.